Shimano's Dura-Ace Di2 is probably the ultimate group set if money is no object. And in this video, we'll go through the reason why I think it's the ultimate group set and why it deserves that accolade. Now, previously, I've talked about Ultegra and my love for mechanical gear shifting, and I've also done a video on 105, and they're linked in the description down below. The Shimano way of doing things is to put all their investment and research and the latest technology into Dura-Ace at the top, and then put it in the Pro Peloton for all the marketing exposure it gets, and then trickle that technology down to Ultegra and 105 and further. So each group set gets dragged up by the improvements first rolled out on Dura-Ace. So Dura-Ace resets a tone for the company's entire group set lineup. Oh, and this very lovely, beautiful Villiers Zero SLR is attached to. Well, yes, there is a review coming very soon. So make sure you subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss it. Right, Dura-Ace, let's dive in. This version of Dura-Ace was launched back in 2016 at the Tour de France. I remember because I was there reporting for Road CC at the time. But the group set didn't actually appear in shops, available to test for magazines and in the pro ranks until the following year in 2017 due to some manufacturing delays. So it's been around for about 3 years. But despite that age on paper, this is still probably one of the best, if not the best group sets money can buy. And price is a good thing to talk about because when this group set first launched, the retail price was a quite staggering £3,500. But now, if you shop around, you can easily find a complete group set for much closer to £2,000. So despite its age, this is still a high performance, reliable, class leading group set at not quite a fraction of the price when it launched, but much cheaper than when it first launched. If you're not into buying a group set and building up your own bike, but you want to buy a new bike this year and you must have Dura-Ace, then for this Dura-Ace Di2 with hydraulic disc brakes, you're looking at a starting price of about £6,500, all the way up to £11,000–12,000. The sky is the limit. Here's an example of a Canyon Ultimate with this very group set for £6,500. So a pretty good example of what you have to pay to get this flagship group set. We'll start with the hoods because, as you know, the hoods are your main point of contact when riding a bike. And what's really impressive with the Dura-Ace Di2 hoods, like Ultegra below it, is the fact they got the hydraulic gubbins and the electronics in such a small, compact, slim hood. In fact, it's the same size as the mechanical rim brakes. So if you have two bikes, one with disc brakes and one with mechanical rim brakes, the hoods are the same size, and that's a really nice feature. Now, as I previously stated, I really like mechanical shifting, and the latest Ultegra and 105 group sets offer excellent performance with really tactile, really nice lever feel and easy gear shifts. But Di2 is also pretty awesome, it has to be said. And the smaller hoods, especially if you've got small hands, which mine are quite small, you can fit your whole hand around it. So I get 2 fingers around the hood. And where I find this a benefit compared to chunkier mechanical hoods, if when you're doing high-speed group riding, you've got a much firmer grip on the hood, and I find it a little bit more confidence-inspiring using these compared to Ultegra. But I'm really splitting hairs here. When you change gear, pressing the button, as you can hear there, is really easy. Now, as I said before, I like mechanical shifting. I like the simplicity it offers. But there are times, again, high-speed group riding or very wet, cold weather with big gloves on, that being able to press a button is sometimes much easier than moving a lever, because a small press is that easy. And you've got a nice textured material on one lever and it's smooth on the other, and it's slightly curved in, so you can easily tell the difference between the two. So there's no chance of getting them mixed up. Another small benefit, perhaps, and it's a personal one, is that some people like Di2 better because you have a fixed lever blade. Unlike mechanical, where you move the whole lever to change gear, the lever is in fact fixed, just like SRAM and Campag. So that is something that a lot of people like better. The lever blade isn't going to move sideways, and then you press a button to change gear as you want. Out of the box, the group set works like any normal group sets, as you would expect if you've been riding road bikes for a long time, change gear up and down, blah blah. But Shimano offers something called a synchro shift with 2 modes available to choose from. But synchro shift basically lets the Di2 brain of the system control the front and rear derailleurs to change a front derailleur when you get to the big sprocket at the back, and then do the compensation shift at the back. And I tried it, and it is worth trying because you might get on with it, and some people do like it. But personally, call me old-fashioned, I like to have complete control, manual control over the group set and change gear at the front and rear as I see fit. Because I find there's sometimes a situation when I want to stay in a certain gear, but the system wants to change the front mech, and I'm not really that keen on it. But it's worth trying. As I said, you might like it. In terms of actual changing gear, it's really quiet, it's really sharp and precise, and I never miss a gear with Dura-Ace. Front or rear shifting is pretty much flawless, never gives you any problems, no hiccups at all. And when it comes to braking, as you can see, I've got hydraulic disc brakes on a group set, which I personally really like, and braking performance is excellent. Probably one of the best hydraulic disc brake group sets on the market. There's not much difference really compared to Ultegra or 105. We got the funky new disc brake rotors on Dura-Ace, which are meant to deal with heat better. But here in the UK, you can rarely get to the sort of temperatures these rotors can apparently handle compared to the previous versions. But the lever feel is where I really enjoy using disc brakes. Really firm lever feel. The bike point is always in the same place. It's consistent, predictable in every situation. And I really like that. I like one finger braking. I don't like having to go 2 or 3 fingers with rim brakes. In my experience, no noise, no squealing, no rubbing when sprinting or powering up a steep climb. Just work really well. There are occasions when you might get a bit of grit or dirt in between the tight clearance between the rotor and the pads, but those times are few and far between. And certainly I've ridden in a group of cyclists, and the rim brakes with carbon have been much noisier than the hydraulic disc brakes. Maintenance is easy. Well, there isn't any, to be honest. The only thing you have to be careful of is when you're transporting the bike, taking the wheels out of the frame, don't accidentally pull a lever and the pads come out. You have to be careful of the rotors because they're quite thin. Be careful you don't bend them. If you bend them, you can get a warping sound, which is really annoying and difficult to straighten out. But the pads last for ages, the rotors last for ages. You never need to bleed them. I rarely bleed disc brakes on any bikes, mount on the road, they last for ages. So yeah, no maintenance, less maintenance in my opinion than rim brakes. We have a Holotech 2 crankset, which is basically stiff as hell. There's no sense of flex from the crankset at all. And the front shifting is excellent. Shimano have really nailed front shifting. With every group set I've used from Shimano, front shifting has always been really good. And the auto trim option on Di2 is a really neat feature. Definitely a benefit over mechanical, that auto trim. You just press a button, it changes gear, trims it, and it never makes any noise, no issues at all. I've never dropped a chain on Shimano Di2, so it's just flawless performance at the front. And at the back, shifting is excellent too. It goes up and down a titanium sprocket cassette with minimal noise or fuss. Just almost perfect. When I say almost, could be better. Well, I like to think there's always room for improvement. Slightly faster shifting maybe, but yeah, we're pretty close to perfection with this group set. One of the reasons why this is probably one of the ultimate group sets in the market right now is weight. Because Dura-Ace is one of the lightest group sets on the market. Not the lightest, there are lighter group sets, but you're getting all the best materials, carbon fiber brake levers, titanium sprockets, no less, to save weight where possible. And there's lots of hidden materials inside the rear derailleurs and lever bodies to save weight where you can't see it as well. And the result is that the claim weight for this Di2 hydraulic disc brake group set is 2,377 grams. And that's about 300 grams lighter than Ultegra, which I know isn't much, but if you're chasing that 6.8 kilogram weight limit that UCI stipulates for all race bikes, or you want to go lighter, then that 300 grams is a big saving and will help you get your bike as light as possible. Dura-Ace has always been aimed at racing cyclists, which is why you see it in the pro peloton, but we've seen the gear range get bigger as the group set has broader appeal than ever before. So with the cassette, you now get an 1130 option on the rear to help you up the climbs. And alongside the 5339 and the 5236 options on the crankset, you now get a compact 5034, which a few years ago you would never have got. If you wanted easier gears, you had to go to Ultegra or 105. But Shimano is recognizing the broader appeal of Dura-Ace. It's not just racing cyclists, but normal cyclists like you and I who just want the best equipment used by the pros, but with ratios that help you on mountain climbs or local hills wherever you live. So we've seen the gear range increase with this version of Dura-Ace when it first launched a few years ago. When it comes to the look of a group set, style is subjective, but to my eyes it's a really good looking group set. Very premium with the gloss black. I remember when it first launched it caused quite a reaction. Some people really hated it and it grew on them, and some people loved it straight away, and I was definitely in that latter camp. I loved it when it first launched and I still like it now, and I think it looks really good on any high-end frame. Whatever paint job you have in the frame, the black group set really lets the frame colour pop, and it's easier to build a really smart looking bike with Dura-Ace, in my opinion, than the grey silver Ultegra below it. So it's fair to say it lives up to its ultimate tag fairly well, and in my opinion it definitely deserves that accolade. The performance is first class, almost flawless in every aspect. It's utterly reliable. I've ridden many test bikes with Dura-Ace and done many thousands of kilometres and miles, and they've always been reliable. Quiet, never drop a gear, just works really well and still looks premium. Now there are rumours of a new group set coming out. We might have expected something at the Tour de France this year, but due to coronavirus, we're more likely to see something at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. That's my hunch anyway. I could be wrong. They might launch it sooner. What can we expect from the new group set? Well, personally, I like to see weight shaved from the disc brake group set to really narrow the weight to rim brakes, which are still lighter, and that will help many people who are put off by disc brakes because of the weight make the leap to disc brakes for the superior braking performance, in my opinion, they offer. We're also likely to see a jump to 12 speed, following in the footsteps of their Italian and American counterparts, and using the micro spline technology from the Shimano XTR mountain bike group set. That's likely to happen, and what it does mean is there won't be any backwards compatibility with Ultegra and 105 until those group sets likely follow in the footsteps of Dura-Ace a few years later, as they do. A couple of things I would like to see. You can get a Bluetooth adapter to allow your computer to show you what gear you're in, but you have to buy it as an optional extra, so more cost on top of your £3,500 group set or your £6,500 bike. Compared to that, SRAM, with its latest Force and Red eTap Access wireless group sets, has baked in Bluetooth support and has a smartphone app that lets you do really clever things like check the battery life, do firmware updates, and customize the buttons and the gear changes on your group set for your personal requirements. So that sort of Bluetooth smartphone app integration will be a really nice feature to see on the latest version of Dura-Ace in the future. The way Shimano likes to work is to put all its expertise and research and development into a top level Dura-Ace group set. So you see all the latest technology and materials and so on. And then they put that in a pro peloton and get all that marketing exposure, of course. And then that technology would trickle down to Ultegra and 105 and the other group sets below it, lifting all the group sets up in the wake of what we first see with Dura-Ace. So 12 speed, lighter, and maybe some other technology that is difficult to foresee at this point. And despite the imminent possibility of a new group set, it's still worthwhile buying because you get all the performance, proven reliability, great looks, and it's much cheaper than when it first came out. So that has been Shimano's Dura-Ace Di2 group set, and why I still think it's a valid group set if you have the money to buy a bike with this group set on it. Now it's time to turn it over to you. So what do you think of this group set? Do you own it? Are you planning to buy a bike with it on this year? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video, enjoy watching it, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you all again next time. Thank you for watching.